What role do you feel that the legal profession at large has, or what obligation do they have to speak out against these threats, not to judges, but also the more existential threats we're seeing against the rule of law right now?
Look, for our system to work, every participant in the system needs to defend it. You respect the Robe. You disagree with the decision. You appeal the decision. I remember a conversation I had with a lawyer at a bar event. Came up to me, introduced himself, and said, "Judge, you don't know me, but I was on a case you ruled on recently. You ruled against me. I disagree with the decision. I see how you got there, but I'm going to take you up on appeal." That is exactly how the system is designed to work. As a litigant, I joke about this all the time. I never lost a case because of bad lawyering or because of bad fact. It was always because the judge just didn't get it. You don't make a statement attacking the judge. You simply follow the systems that we have in place. You file your notice of appeal, and you hope that the judges on the appeal court will agree with your position. And if they disagree with you, you accept the decision. That is the system that we have in place. You accept the decision from the last court that heard that matter, that you took that matter to.
We're seeing a real erosion in public trust in the judiciary, in all of our branches of government, particularly the third branch, as well as kind of the legal profession as a whole. Mm-hmm. What is the long-term consequence of that if we can't reverse course on that?
There's going to be a retention issue, and what I mean by, well, I guess, is also a recruiting issue. First, I genuinely believe that we're going to have a hard time attracting the best and the brightest to the bench. I think what people sometimes overlook is that the judiciary is composed of people who are at the highest level of their profession. And these are people who are extremely successful, who are making far more in the private sector than they will as a judge. But they've decided to become a judge, to pursue that path because of a desire to be in public service. If we continue down this path and we don't find a way to reverse it, what I'm worried about is we're going to have a hard time making these positions attractive to the best and the brightest. Or alternatively, we may also see people who are on the bench who look at the landscape and just say, this is not worth it. There were several reasons why I left the bench, but obviously one of them that factored in my decision. I was a single man when I went on the bench, started receiving some threats, but got married, had kids, and started looking far down the road. There was a financial component, but it was also that component about, do I really want to subject my family to this vitriol that I'm dealing with? Ultimately, again, for multiple reasons, but including that concern about safety, led me to walk away from the bench. And I know there are a lot of people who are having those debates as well. Is this worth it? Do I really need to continue to do this, given all of this venom that judges are facing?
What is something, or what are things that you think the legal profession can be doing to increase transparency or to make the workings of the judiciary more accessible to Americans who seem to have a real misunderstanding or are susceptible to misinformation about how the judiciary works?
Yeah, I think lawyers have an obligation to just be ambassadors for the system in general. There's a problem here that we all acknowledge, just a lack of civics education, civics understanding. Lawyers need to do, and bar organizations are doing this. We just need to do more engaging with the public, explaining how the system works, explaining how judges generally render decisions, and more importantly, telling litigants how the system has checks and balances in place. Look, you don't just go in there and do what you want to do. There are guardrails in place. You're bound by the facts before you, and then you also are bound by the law. So we do have checks and balances in place. The district judge, where the trial courts where I served, none of us liked to be reversed. It's an ego thing. We want to get it right. You may disagree with my decision, but I guarantee you, if you read my opinion, you can see how I got to that decision. I may ultimately be proven by the Court of Appeals, or the Court of Appeals may say that I got it wrong, but I didn't get it wrong because I intentionally wanted to have a certain outcome. I think lawyers have an obligation to explain to people about precedent and just how judges arrive at decision making, how judges are bound by the facts and ultimately by binding precedent. And then more importantly, if you think the judge got it wrong, there is a way to address that, and that is through an appeal and not by attacking the judge.